Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am so happy that so many of you enjoyed my last video all about sperm. I think it had some of you in stitches. I know that my wife listened to it because she's not allowed to watch it in front of me, but she listened to it and she was just laughing the entire time. Obviously she thinks I'm hilarious. All of you don't have to think I'm hilarious. I'm probably not that funny. But anyway, thank you. It was a lot of fun to do that one. So in watching that last video, I realized that there was still a lot of information about sperm that I just didn't get a chance to share with all of you because I wanted to try to make that a condensed video. And so I thought I would talk about that today before I end up going into a whole conversation around how do you actually conceive. So IUIs, ICIs, IVF, kind of all of those. There's a lot of I's in that. Anyway, so let's talk about the sperm again. Part 2, sperm part 2. Okay, so one of the, I think, most interesting experiences in picking up a tank from a cryobank is actually, or picking up your sperm from a cryobank, is what the actual tank looks like and also what you get in the vial. I'm gonna let you just watch a little clip. I took a little clip of a tank and a vial so that you guys could see what it looks like. Sorry for ruining what is probably a hilarious moment for all of you who have yet to start this journey. Anyway, just take a look. You shall see. Okay, so what you see is you have this big tank filled with nitrogen. And that big tank, you are, if you're picking it up locally, you're bringing that tank onto the subway. I remember the first time that I brought a tank home, I thought, oh my God, they're gonna think that I have a bomb or something, because hopefully this thing doesn't start to like fume out of a backpack that they had given me to carry it. Also, you'll see some flower decorations. That's just totally me. I like colors and pops of colors, so don't mind that. And then you'll see out of this like big tank, and you pull up this like this long stick or holder, and in that long holder is the tiniest little vial of sperm. It's just so small. The reason why it's so small is because it only contains sperm. It does not contain any semen in it. But still, it's so tiny, and you think like, God, this is what cost me $500 to $700 or $1,000 for each one of these little guys. It is what it is, right? This is the reality of the situation right now. But I wanted to show you that. I thought that was a piece of the sperm conversation that was missing in the last one, was actually the sperm. So the thing that I really wanted to talk to you guys about in the second half or the last half of this video is, if you decide to go with a sperm bank, what sperm bank should you choose? What are important decisions to make when you're making, or what are important decisions to think about when you're making that decision about what sperm bank to choose? So that is what we will talk about next. So I think one of the most important things that you can do when you're thinking about what sperm bank or cryobank to go to is doing your own research, right? And so I'm actually gonna, in the bottom, in that kind of information section, I'm gonna include a list of questions that you can ask, or link to questions that you can ask Cryobank when you're looking at or researching cryobanks. But in my mind, and I tell all my clients this, and I tell myself this, it's so important that you do your own research and find the cryobank and care provider that really feels right for you and that kind of checks off all of the boxes for yourself and for your partner, if there is a partner involved or present with you. Right? So that is first and foremost, is finding someone who, for example, a cryobank that has policies and regulations that fit your specific needs. The next thing is looking at who are the sperm donors, right? And so by that I mean, does that cryobank have a nice quantity of people who match the ethnicity, race, religion, education level, all of that you're looking for in a donor. So that's something that's also really important to look at. Some banks have a small selection, but they have more people of color or brown folks in their selection. Some banks have really large selection of donors to choose from, but they have a lot fewer people of color, things like that. I know those are important decisions that some of my friends and family and colleagues have made for them. The other thing to think about is location. And so we have a really actually short window of time during which we can inseminate and potentially get pregnant. It's funny because in high school or whenever you start having sex, you're always told, like, really be careful, wrap it up, use a condom, use birth control, tons of different things for STDs and for pregnancy. And then you realize that it's actually quite difficult to get pregnant. So there's really a short window of time, and so I personally have found and usually suggest going with some place that's close by, so that you can just go pick up the tank when you need it. And if you get the tank a little bit too soon, too soon meaning it's just not that time yet, and we'll talk about what that means. I mean, like what that means for your body and when you inseminate and all that kind of stuff. But if you get the tank too soon, you can go back to the cryobank and get more nitrogen to keep the sperm or the specimen really cold still and fresh, so that when you use it, or if you don't end up using it for some reason or another, you can actually physically go and return the tank instead of having to ship it back. And I don't even know if some places will let you ship it back, but if they do, I'm sure it's expensive. So that's one of the big things. I know that some people think about going internationally. That sounds really awesome to me for many different reasons. But then there's the whole stress of, will the tank arrive in time? Will it get stuck on a plane? What are the custom issues? What are the legal ramifications of that? What are some, there are so many more additional things that I think someone might have to figure out if you're going internationally, that for me personally it just seemed like too much, but I also respect and fully support folks who go internationally. I think that's awesome, so cool. Another thing I think to think about is the cost. So if you are going to a bank that is further away, what is the cost of shipping that vial or that tank of sperm to you? So that's something that plays a part in kind of where you go. And I think the last thing is the actual size of the cryobank. So some cryobanks have like 10 donors and that's it. And some cryobanks have 100 donors. And so it's more likely that if you're going to a sperm bank that is within your own city and has only like 15 donors available to you, it's likely that you'll probably run into someone who is also using that kind of donor as well, especially if you're really vocal about it. It's also possible that the same will happen if you use sperm from a really large bank, right? The queer community is quite small. We all talk, and so that information is being shared. But also just, there are a lot of people using donor sperm, but there also aren't as many donors in the world as there are people. So the reality is, if you're going with the donor sperm, you are probably going to produce a child, give birth to a child, or hopefully you're going to give birth to a child who will have other people who are genetically related to that child out there in the universe. That's kind of just the reality of going with a sperm bank. if that's something that freaks people out, then I suggest potentially going with someone who is who's a known donor, right? Because the odds are that they might only have 1 or 2 or 4 kids, not necessarily 15 potential related siblings out there. I think most banks do have a limit on the number of offspring, but not everyone actually reports their pregnancy, so the numbers are a bit skewed. So if you do end up using donor sperm, I highly recommend that you let the sperm bank know if you do end up getting pregnant. It just helps kind of regulate the whole process a little bit more. Yeah, so I think that's about it in my kind of final conversations around sperm. In the next video, we'll talk about how do you conceive. I think I'll start off with chatting about ICIs, so intracervical insemination. And then if we have time in that next video, I'll also talk about IUIs. Otherwise, I'll put that in a follow-up video after that. If you all have suggestions of things that you would like to hear me speak on, please feel free to share them. If you have questions, please feel free to ask them below. And please subscribe to my channel and like the video if you did like it. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.